Here is where the crisis stands on Sunday, April 19, 2026. A fragile ceasefire between the United States and Iran is still technically alive, but AP reports the Strait of Hormuz standoff has flared again and commercial shipping remains under direct threat. President Donald Trump said Sunday that American negotiators will go to Pakistan on Monday, April 20th, for new talks with Iran. That keeps diplomacy alive. But on the water, the picture is more dangerous. AP reports Iran reversed its reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, warned transit would stay blocked while the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports continues, and said new fire was reported against commercial vessels. So tonight's story is simple. Diplomacy may be restarting, but the shipping crisis is not over. What changed overnight? According to AP's Saturday and Sunday reporting, Iran pulled back from an earlier move to reopen the strait after Washington said its blockade would remain in place until a broader agreement is reached. AP says the British military's UKMTO Center reported that 2 Revolutionary Guard gunboats opened fire on a tanker, and that another vessel was struck by an unknown projectile that damaged containers. Those details matter because they move the crisis from political signaling to direct risk for commercial traffic. The White House had said on April 8 that Iran had agreed to a ceasefire and reopening of Hormuz as broader negotiations moved forward. The gap between that April 8 announcement and the current reality is now the core market risk. The Strait of Hormuz is the center of gravity in this story. AP notes that roughly 1/5 of the world's oil normally passes through the waterway. When traffic is disrupted here, the impact moves far beyond the Gulf. Tanker movements, refinery planning, insurance costs, and freight rates all start reacting almost immediately. That is why every military or political signal around Hormuz gets amplified. The current message from Tehran, as summarized by AP, is that the strait will not fully normalize while the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports remains in force. The current message from Washington is that pressure will continue while negotiators pursue a broader deal. That leaves ships and markets trapped between military leverage and diplomatic timing. There is still a diplomatic off-ramp. President Trump said on Sunday, April 19, that American negotiators will travel to Pakistan on Monday, April 20th, for talks with Iran. AP says that announcement raised hopes of extending a ceasefire that is due to expire by Wednesday, April 22nd. Those dates are crucial. Monday is the next test for whether back-channel diplomacy can produce a pause, and Wednesday is the deadline investors and shippers are watching. But expectations should stay limited. Talks can resume even while military pressure continues, and neither side appears ready to publicly concede on the blockade or the strait. In other words, Pakistan may host the next conversation, but it may not yet deliver a durable breakthrough. Markets have already shown how sensitive this crisis is. Earlier in the week, AP reported oil prices dropped sharply when Iran briefly said Hormuz was open again. Before that, AP reported prices jumping after Washington said it would block Iranian ports. That whipsaw tells us the economic story is moving on headlines as much as on physical supply. Even when tankers are not sunk or terminals are not destroyed, uncertainty alone can tighten insurance, reroute ships, and keep fuel costs elevated. For viewers thinking beyond the battlefield, this is the part to watch: energy, shipping, and inflation channels. A prolonged standoff in Hormuz would not stay regional for long. It would move through transport costs into a much wider global price shock. So what should we watch next? First, whether vessels are able to transit Hormuz safely on Sunday night and Monday. Second, whether the Pakistan talks on April 20th actually begin, and whether both sides signal any extension of the ceasefire before April 22nd. Third, whether official statements from Washington, Tehran, or maritime agencies confirm a reduction in firing incidents. Right now, the verified picture is a split screen. Diplomacy is still alive, but the sea lane remains under acute pressure. This video uses illustrative visuals, not battlefield footage, because facts are changing fast and responsible reporting matters more than drama. If you publish this on YouTube, label it clearly as an April 19, 2026 update and refresh it again if events move before Monday's talks.